All right, welcome in everybody to Wednesday, July 29th, everybody. Welcome in. Can everyone hear me? I want to make sure that before we get started, everyone can hear me. So please let me know where you're calling in from, where you're typing from. And then I want to also make sure that you guys can hear me okay. So we're going to get started here in just a minute. We're going to do something we never tried before. We're going to start... we're going to try to live stream the hearing that's going on right now at the same time while we're talking. So this one is not going to be as structured as some of my other live streams. We're just going to be hanging out. I have a couple highlights from the hearing so far. A couple remarks from Mark Zuckerberg, a couple remarks from the people over at Google. So I'm excited to hear you. Okay, cool. All right, awesome. Arlen and Trisha and everyone says they can hear me. Great, awesome. All right, good morning from California. California representing, a fellow Californian. Okay, everybody, so this is going to be a watch party in a way where we're going to... The hearing right now is the antitrust hearing, and obviously these tech CEOs are taking questions from both Republicans and Democrats. So I'm trying to keep an eye on who's talking and who's being asked some questions. Now, there are a couple highlights that I will tell you about to start, but so far there is Jeff Bezos is there from Amazon, Tim Cook, and we got Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook there. We also have representatives from Google. So I'm going to start off by playing a clip of Mark Zuckerberg. So Mark Zuckerberg was asked why Twitter. So that's the thing. Some of these people don't know which questions they're really asking. You can tell that some of these people are not up to tune with the internet and what's going on. As we all know, yesterday, Donald Trump Jr. was suspended from Twitter. Let me bring that up here real quick. He was suspended from Twitter for sharing a video about, I think you know what. It's an anti-malarial drug that the media really doesn't want us talking about. They're very, very scared that Trump could be right about it. So they are trying their best to censor it as much as possible. So they suspended Don Jr.'s account for that. And now, Facebook has also taken down the video, and Instagram has also taken the video as they are talking about that anti-malarial drug that is being used. So Mark Zuckerberg was asked about it, and he basically says, well, because it's not a proven cure, we're going to take it down. We're going to get into some of the hypocrisy here in a minute, but just watch this.
I ask a specific of you. It was reported that Donald Trump Jr. got taken down for a period of time because he put something up on the efficacy of hydroxychloroquine. Now, I wouldn't take it myself, but there still is a debate on whether it is effective either in treating or preventing COVID-19. And I think that this is a legitimate matter of discussion. And it would be up to a patient and their doctor to determine whether hydroxychloroquine was the correct medication, given the circumstances. Now, why did that happen?
Congressman, well, first, to be clear, I think what you might be referring to happened on Twitter, so it's hard for me to speak to that. But I can talk to our policies about this. We do prohibit content that will lead to imminent risk of harm. And stating that there's a proven cure for COVID when there is in fact none might encourage someone to go take something that could have some adverse effects. So we do take that down. We do not prohibit discussion around trials of drugs or people saying that they think that things might work or personal experiences with experimental drugs. But if someone is going to say that something is proven when in fact it is not, that could lead people
wouldn't that be up for somebody on the other side of the issue to say that this is not proven? And, I know as a fact that, for people with certain conditions, it's contraindicated and they shouldn't take it on that. But wouldn't that be up to somebody else, to say, okay, what somebody posted on this really isn't true, and here's what the facts are, rather than having a Twitter or a Facebook take it down?
Congressman, in general, I agree with you, and we do not want to become the arbiters of truth. I think that would be a bad position for us to be in, and not what we should be doing. But on specific claims, if someone is going to go out and say that hydroxychloroquine is proven to cure COVID, when in fact it has not been proven to cure COVID, and that statement could lead people to take a drug that in some cases, some of the data suggests that it might be harmful to people.
Okay, so we're back to talking about this drug here. This drug that the media, you see, okay, here's the verbal jiu-jitsu that the left is using with hydroxychloroquine. Now, let me start by saying out here, so this live stream doesn't get banned, I am not a medical expert. I am not saying that hydroxychloroquine is proven. This is my disclaimer, people. I hope you catch my drift. But all I'm saying is this, is that the left is using verbal jiu-jitsu, and they are saying, well, it's not proven. So stop pushing something that's not proven. Although there's anecdotal evidence across the nation, a global study of over 6,000 doctors saying, quote, it is the most effective therapy, a lot of positive things coming from it. The reason why there is a circular firing squad against this drug is because President Trump was basically one of the first people to it. If the media would have been the first to it, they would have been pushing it and saying, hey, the hospitals are using this. This is awesome. In fact, there was a Yale epidemiologist that said, there was a Yale epidemiologist who said that going forward, if this drug is used, then it could save 100,000 lives. Now, that's great and all, but I'm more upset about the tens of thousands of lives that could have been potentially lost from this. Okay, and this is the media's way of walking that line, because they're saying it's not proven. Although there is anecdotal evidence, and many doctors are saying that is a positive treatment. So it's really tough. What's hilarious is I showed you guys earlier, Donald Trump Jr. was suspended from Twitter for sharing that video. And then Twitter immediately tried to cover their tracks and made this the trending at the very top with this hashtag. Hydroxychloroquine is not an effective treatment for COVID-19, according to the FDA. However, do you know what tweet they didn't take down? They didn't take down CNN's tweet. This is from CNN. So if anyone at Facebook or YouTube are watching this, I am quoting a CNN tweet. Since you're on their side so much, I'm quoting a CNN tweet. From July 3rd, a surprising new study found that the controversial antimalarial drug hydroxychloroquine helped COVID-19 patients better survive in the hospital. And Benny from Turning Point USA says, why hasn't Twitter suspended CNN for this tweet? Think about that. It's because we all know why. We don't even need to talk about it. So let me take a glance over at this hearing real quick and make sure we're not missing anything. Okay, they're just talking to Google. I'm more interested in the Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg and kind of the Amazon stuff. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. Thank you guys for chilling with me. So I do have another highlight to play for you. Matt Gaetz just started going off, and he basically put Google into a corner and made them agree that they will not support anti-police policies. Check this out.
Googlers have recently sent you a letter where they've asked you to exit other partnerships as a consequence of ethical concerns. They've asked you to stop doing business with American law enforcement, saying that police broadly uphold white supremacy and that Google should not be engaged in any services to police. And as you well know, you provide some of the most basic services to police, like email, but you also provide services that help keep our cops safe when they're doing their job. And so my question is, here in front of Congress and the American people, will you take the pledge that Google will not adopt the bigoted anti-police policy that is requested in the most recent letter?
Congressman, we have a long track record of working with law enforcement when it is supported by due process and the law. We push back against overbroad requests. We are transparent about the requests we get, but we have a long history of following the law and cooperating with law enforcement.
I understand the history. I'm asking about the future. To the law enforcement that are watching today, can they rest assured that under your leadership, Google will not adopt these bigoted anti-police policies?
Congressman, we are committed to continuing to work with law enforcement in a way that's consistent with law and due processes in the U.S.
Well, I greatly appreciate that, and I know that will be very comforting to the police who utilize your services.
So that didn't sound like a very resounding endorsement of police, but at least he backed him into a corner and got him on record so that if they do come out with more anti-police policies in the future, that they are not going to, hopefully they can get called out on it. So you guys, I'm going to try something that I have not tried live before to an audience. I'm going to try to stream this hearing. Now, again, I'm more focused on the Amazon and Facebook stuff, so I'm going to give it a go. Let me know if you guys can hear. Yeah, so some of you can't hear those videos. Again, as I always say, you guys got to turn up the volumes on your device because I can't control the volume on the video. So you got to turn them up. So I'm going to switch over live to the hearing, and I'm just going to be honest with you guys. If they're not talking about anything of huge consequence, if it comes to anti-conservative bias, then I'm going to come back to me, and then we're just going to talk about some other topics because some new polls have come out, and they're pretty interesting, and they show that Trump is gaining ground and improving his poll numbers, which is really good. So I'm going to switch over there. If you guys cannot hear this video, then you guys got to turn up the volume on your device. Okay, so let's give this a go.
We remind users to go do a privacy checkup. 1 billion users have done so.
Okay, Mr. Pakai, thank you so much for that. I am concerned that Google's bait and switch with DoubleClick is part of a broader pattern where Google buys up companies for the purposes of surveilling Americans, and because of Google's dominance, users have no choice but to surrender. In 2019, Google made over 80% of its total revenue through selling a ad placement. Is that correct, Mr. Pakai?
Majority of it.
Yeah, okay. And because Google sells behavioral ads targeted to each of us as individuals, the more user data that Google collects, the more money Google can make. More user data means more money. Is that correct?
In general, that's not true. For example, when
more
you come
user data, not the more money Google collects? I'm sorry, please. So you're saying that the more user data, it does not mean the more money that Google can collect.
Congresswoman, most of the data today we collect is to help users and provide personalized experiences back.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Pakai. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank the gentlelady. The chair now recognizes the ranking member of the full committee, Mr. Jordan.
All right, Jim Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Perfect.
Mr. Pachai, is Google going to tailor its features to help Joe Biden in the 2020 election?
Congressman, we approach our work, we support both campaigns today. We think political ads is an important part of free speech and democratic societies, and we engage with campaigns, according to law, and we approach our work in a nonpartisan way.
It's a yes or no question. Can you assure Americans today you won't tailor your features to help Joe Biden in the upcoming election?
We support work that campaigns do. I just want to make sure I
understand that. We all do all kinds of online, social media, all kinds of that kind of outreach, that communication. This is a simple question. Can you today assure Americans you will not tailor your features in any way to specifically help one candidate over other? And this what I'm concerned about is you helping Joe Biden over President Trump.
We won't do any work, to politically tilt anything one way or the other. It's against our core values.
but you did it in 2016. There's an email in 2016 that was widely circulated amongst the executives at your company that got public, where Ms. Ileana Murillo, head of your multicultural marketing, talks about the silent donation Google made to the Clinton campaign.
Whoa.
And you applauded her work. She points that out in the email. I'm just curious, if you did it in 16, I want to make, and in spite of the fact you did it in 16, President Trump won. I just want to make sure you're not going to do it again in 2020.
Oh my God.
Congressman, I recall our conversation at that time, and I appreciate your concern. We didn't find any evidence of such activity.
Lies.
We took the opportunity after our conversation to reinforce to the company. We realized even an appearance could be improper, so we have clearly communicated to our employees any personal political activity, while that's their right, needs to happen on their own time and resources, and should avoid any use of company.
Of course, everyone's got their First Amendment rights to campaign for who they want. What they can't do is configure your features to help one candidate over the other.
Wow.
So you might have not have found any evidence, but here's what she wrote to the email.
Here we go.
To a number of key executives in your company. Quote, we push to get out the Latino vote with our features. Second quote, we push to get out the Latino vote with our features in key states. Seems to me those last three words are the real qualifier here. That's electioneering when you're trying to increase the Latino vote in key states. And she'd already communicated that she was supporting Clinton, that she wanted Clinton to win. So when she talks about increasing the Latino vote, which she assumed was going to help candidate Clinton, and she's doing that in key states. It's one thing if you're going to increase the Latino vote around the country. If you're just a good corporate citizen, you're urging people to vote. It's quite another when you're focusing on in key states. And you know what those key states were? Nevada and Florida, the swing states.
Whoa.
So again, I want to make sure this isn't going to happen in 2020.
I can assure you that we complied with laws in 2016. As a company, any work we do around elections is nonpartisan. Users do come to us for understanding where polling places are, where to
Who else
vote,
believes this?
the date
Who
to
actually
vote, what the
believes
voting
this?
hours are. We are committed to providing that information, and I can assure you that we will approach our work.
So Mr. Pichai, here's the question I think is on so many Americans' minds. They saw the list that we read here earlier on in our opening statements, all the things Google has done. Google is siding with the World Health Organization over anyone who disagrees with them, even though the World Health Organization obviously lied to America, obviously shills for China. Google's siding with them. YouTube is siding with them. We have the history of all the things Google has done and the history of what happened in 2016 in the election, where they obviously, according to one of your multicultural marketing executive, tried to help Clinton. And here we are 97 days before the election, and we want to make sure it's not going to happen again. We want to can you give us two assurances? One, you're not going to try to tailor your features, configure your platform in a way to help Joe Biden. And second, that you're not going to use your search engine to silence conservatives. Can you give us those two assurances today?
Congressman, on our search engine, conservatives have more access to information than ever before.
And we appreciate that. That wasn't the question. Can you assure us today you're not going to try to silence conservatives? And can you assure us today you're not going to try to configure your features as Ms. Murillo said you did for Clinton in 16? Can you assure us today you're not going to do the same thing for Joe Biden in 2020?
You have my commitment. It's always been true, and we'll continue to conduct ourselves in a neutral way.
Appreciate it. Yield back.
The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Ms. Scanlon.
Okay, so guys, let's analyze that.
I'd like to redirect your attention to antitrust law.
All right, so let me turn this off. Okay, guys, so let's analyze that. Holy crap. Jim Jordan just went off on him. That was amazing. Everyone in the comments is saying that he got dunked on. Jim Jordan just absolutely obliterated him. That was amazing. Oh my God. All right. So the Google CEO, guys, okay, be very careful with the way that Google just worded the response here, okay? So Jim Jordan asked if conservatives were going to be censored in the Google search. But Jim Jordan made a little error in his question. He should have said, will conservative websites be censored? Because when he just said, will conservatives be censored, the Google CEO said, hey, conservatives have more access to more information than ever before in history. So Jim Jordan messed up a little bit right there. He should have been more specific, because there is an article right here from Breitbart. Let me show you guys. That says that Google has purged, let me bring it up here, that Google has purged their search engine results. Election interference, Google purges Breitbart from search results. And so, I'm going to scroll down a little bit here, you guys. Take a look at this chart that Breitbart just posted about how Google is censoring Breitbart. Check this out. This arrow right here is when the update came from their Google search, and look at how Breitbart's search engine traffic decreased. It looks like it decreased basically in half. It went from 0.24 to 0.12. So basically 0.024 to 0.012. So their search engine traffic got cut in half. So for Google to say that conservatives are not being censored, that is just absolutely a bunch of BS. That's a bunch of BS. That's lies. That's pure lies. So, we got to look out, guys. But yes, that guy from Google, he is, in my opinion, lying. That is a bold faced lie, what he's doing there. So a lot of you guys are commenting. So, because we have some other, someone else going. So when the next Republican starts asking questions, that should be in about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to go back to the live hearing. Hopefully they grill Mark Zuckerberg. That's what I really came for. That was great, grilling of Google. So you guys, what I want to do right now is I want to share with you some new polls that have just come out. Now, I know that the polls are not reliable all the time, but here's what I am saying is that if Trump is gaining in the poll, like any increase for Trump in the polls is a good thing, right? Because we all know that the polls are wrong, but I'd rather the polls be close than super far apart, right? I'd rather Trump be only down by 1 or 2, so that if the margin of error is 3 to 4, that he's within that margin of error. And I totally agree that there is a huge silent majority, okay? There is a huge silent majority, and I know that. But I'd rather not see Biden up 7 or 8 in a certain state, and I'd rather see him up 1 or 2. So these are brand new polls, and then I'm going to show you the difference of where these polls were just a couple weeks ago. So according to that, I'm going to see how this shows up to you guys. And again, I don't believe that these are the actual numbers. Okay, I want to be very clear about that. I believe that Trump is leading in these states, but I want to show you a compare. So these quote-unquote polls say Biden is up by 2 in Pennsylvania, Arizona up by 3 in Florida, which I don't even come close to believing, up 3 in North Carolina, 4 in Michigan, 5 in Wisconsin. But let's take a look at the polls from just a couple. Let me see the last poll here. Let me turn on the share for the other tab. So these were the polls just a week ago. Instead of only being up 3 in Arizona, Biden was up 7. So Biden lost 4 points in Arizona. I'm sorry. Yeah, he lost 4 points in Arizona, lost 2 points in Florida. He lost 3 points in Wisconsin, lost 3 points in Pennsylvania, lost a point in Michigan. So according to the same exact polls from these companies, Trump is gaining. And like I said, I want to be very, very clear with all you guys. I am not saying that the polls are legit, but what I'm saying is I'd rather the polls be wrong and have us only have to make up a couple points in that margin of error than have the polls be wrong, but us be down by 7, 8, 9, 10 and have to make up a huge margin of error, okay? So that's just something, guys, to keep an eye on. One thing I want to talk about is that, a lot of people say that Biden can't win because he's just so out of it mentally. But you guys, you need to understand is that when people are not afraid of something, they don't see them as threatening. Okay. Hold on. They just changed the questioning. Let me see if any good questions are going to be asked right here. Sorry, guys. Let me see, because the Democrat just got done talking. Let me see if we got a Republican live. Hold on. If this doesn't get interesting, I'm going to switch away. All right, I'm getting people saying no audio. Sorry, 1 second.
Bet that you or most people here have multiple apps for
How
each
about
of
now,
those on
everybody?
your
Audio?
phones.
Mr. Zuckerberg, why don't we dig into this a bit further? So you and I clearly disagree about that. In 2012, I'm looking at a document that was produced by Facebook in response to the subcommittee's investigation. It's a presentation prepared for Sheryl Sandberg to deliver to the board of directors of a major telecommunications firm, boasting that, quote, Facebook is now 95% of all social media in the United States. The title of the slide is even, quote, the industry consolidates as it matures. So as I look at that graph, I certainly think most folks would concede that Facebook was a monopoly as early as it's 2012. But nonetheless, I understand that we disagree on that point. Would you agree with me that Facebook, its strategy since that time, to essentially protect what I describe as a monopoly, but obviously what you would describe as market power, that Facebook has been engaged in purchasing competition, in some cases replicating competition, and in some cases eliminating a competition? Would that be a fair statement?
Congressman, the space of people connecting with other people is a very large space. And I would agree that there were different approaches that we took to addressing different parts of that space, but it's all in service of building the best services.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Zuckerberg. I appreciate the latter point. It sounds like you are conceding that at least some of those strategies were what I identified. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. In 2014, here's an email. It's from Facebook's current chief financial officer, described the company's acquisition strategy as, quote, a land grab, and saying that we're going to spend 5 to 10% of our market cap every couple of years to shore up our position. And my sense of the facts is that is in fact what has occurred. Facebook, as you conceded earlier that Instagram was a competitor of Facebook's. You acquired Instagram in 2012. Instagram is now the 6th largest social media platform in the world. Is that right?
Congressman, I'm not sure what rank it is, but it's certainly grown beyond our wildest
I can represent to you that the statistics demonstrate that empirical data shows it's the 6th largest. In 2014, Facebook bought its competitor WhatsApp. Is that correct?
Congressman, yes, WhatsApp was also both a competitor and complementary. They competed with us in the space of mobile messaging, which is a growing and important space, and is, again, one part of the global space of how people connect more broadly.
Understood. And at that time, WhatsApp had over 400 million monthly users, a clear path towards 1 billion monthly active users. And WhatsApp is now the 2nd largest social media platform in the world, with 2 billion users worldwide, more than Facebook Messenger. And of course, your company owns WhatsApp. Facebook also tried to buy other competitive startups. In fact, as Chairman Nadler noted, you did tell one of Facebook's senior engineers in 2012 that you can, quote, likely buy any competitive startup, but it'll be a while before we can buy Google. Do you recall writing that email?
Congressman, I don't specifically, but it sounds like a joke.
Well, I don't take it as a joke. As I review the email, it was in regards to having just closed the Instagram sale. And the response from this individual, this engineer, to you was, quote, well played. Your response was, thanks. One reason people underestimate the importance of watching Google is that we can likely always just buy any competitive startups, but it'll be a while before we can buy Google. And given the purchases that Facebook had made previous to this and the attempted purchases, my understanding is that Facebook made several overtures to Snapchat, for example, which rebuffed those efforts, clearly demonstrates, in my view, that email was not made in jest. But here's why I ask these questions, Mr. Zuckerberg. It strikes me that over the course of the last several years, Facebook has used its market power to either purchase or replicate the competition. And Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram are the most now downloaded apps of the last decade. Your company, sir, owns them all. And we have a word for that. That word is monopoly. With that, I would yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, gentlemen. I now recognize the gentlelady from Georgia, Ms. McBath, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bezos, you referred to third-party sellers today as Amazon's partners, and that
guys.
your success.
I'm gonna cut back to me here for a second. So that was interesting. So that was actually a Democrat talking. I thought they were going back and forth between Democrat and Republican, but that was just a Democrat. That was a Democrat talking. He. I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm not the biggest fan of I guess. Okay, I know a lot of people say that Mark Zuckerberg is the worst, and I know that he's not been a true friend to the conservatives over time, but he's not as bad as Jack Dorsey of Twitter. They are just even more. I mean, here at TrendingPolitics.com, we have definitely experienced our share of unfairness on social media as well as Facebook. We've had a circular firing squad on us basically for a long time. And but what I will say is that Democrat rep, he wasn't real. I mean, he's being a little dramatic, you know. As soon as I heard that email of him saying that they wanted to buy Google, clearly that was a joke. They're not going to even have the market cap in order to buy Google for cash. Like, sometimes these Democrats can be a little over. Now, again, I'm still not sitting here on Team Zuckerberg or whatever, but you know, that was a little too far in my opinion. But yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it depends, guys. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. It's really interesting. You know, when they bought WhatsApp, that was, 6 years ago. And I know WhatsApp was pretty big, but, messaging wasn't even Facebook's core platform. So I don't know. I mean, that was an interesting line of questioning. I was hoping to see it. So it looks like this Democrat has another 3 minutes. So let's wait to see if she has anything, you guys. But yeah, you guys. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Yeah, they are squirming a little bit. So what I was saying earlier, you guys, about Joe Biden and the polls is that we cannot underestimate him. If you are registered to vote, you've got to vote for Trump no matter where you live. I don't care if you are like me and you live in California and your vote doesn't matter. You have to go out and vote, because here's the problem, is that people voted against Hillary in droves because she was very threatening. She was a liar. She was a cheater. She was corrupt, crooked, and many people would say evil. Many people would say evil. Some people would use words much stronger than that to describe Hillary Rodham Clinton. But those were just some of the words. President Trump liked to say lying, crooked Hillary, and that is an accurate description. But because of how much risk she posed to the United States, as a person, she felt more threatening than Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't feel threatening because he feels like a buffoon who is just wandering about with his eyes, glazed over and people walking in places. Don't underestimate the power of a non-threat. Okay, you guys? If it was Bernie Sanders, I think the Trump base would be even more fired up to stop him, because we don't want communism in the United States of America. Now, Joe Biden is their Trojan horse. So whoever you guys talk to, if they're still not decided on the election, just tell them that Joe Biden is the Democrats' Trojan horse. He is this unthreatening figure. In some ways he's very threatening, but overall he feels like this frail old man who can't talk, who can't do anything. But whoever the vice president is and whoever is in Congress, that's who's really going to be making the decisions. You know that if Joe Biden is president, Black Lives Matter is going to just have whatever they want. They're going to have whatever they want. They're going to be able to walk into the Oval Office and be like, all right, Joe, we want to defund the police. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, yesterday we played a video of her saying, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wants to ban ICE, Border Patrol, and the Department of Homeland Security. She says all three of those need to be abolished. So what's going to stop her from strolling on into to the Oval Office if Joe Biden is elected and saying, okay, Mr. Joe Biden, we want this, and this removed? Nothing's going to stop them. So you have to, when you're engaging in that political discussion, you have to realize, you have to acknowledge the true threat. Okay, guys? You have to acknowledge the true threat there. So We're already running at 35 minutes. I appreciate everyone who's still been on here with me. I'm gonna go back to the live hearing. Let's see what's going on over there. It looks like they're talking to Jeff Bezos, and her time is almost up. So I'll probably end off with this. And if the next line of questioning isn't too particularly interesting, or if it's not having to do with the election or Facebook, against conservatives or whatever, then I'm just not going to. I'm not going to focus. I'm not. Then we could just say goodbye, and then you guys could watch it on your own time if you'd like to. But that was the main point of my stream here today. So here we go. I'm gonna cut back.
Rules that were set by you, we please just help us in earning a livelihood. We beg you. There are 14 lives at stake. Please help us get back on track.
With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
I thank the gentlelady. We've now concluded our first round. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes. Mr. Bezos, according to your testimony, the marketplace is competitive, but Amazon controls as much as 75% of all online marketplace sales.
All right, guys.
And e-marketers.
They're going to start talking about the landscape of retail and stuff now. So that's not going to interest us here too much when we're talking about politics and stuff. Okay, guys? So everybody, I can't appreciate you guys anymore. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Guys, make sure to go to trendingpolitics.com. I'm still getting down my directions. Here we go. Trendingpolitics.com for all the latest news, guys. And then if you guys truly don't want to be censored, I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but you know what they can't censor is the good old-fashioned written word. We release a new edition every single month, a physical newsletter where we say whatever we want. No censorship here. We can talk about whatever we want. I don't have to edit down the post to make sure that Facebook isn't going to ban us. We have a community. We have all kinds of birthdays, member features, all kind of good stuff. So if you guys want to get on the physical newsletter, we're just about to ship out the August edition. And go to tpnewsletter.com to get on that monthly subscription. People are really loving it. People also like to keep it as a collector's. We are in, guys, this is the last time that President Trump is ever going to run for office in history. So a lot of people like to do this as a collectible as well. And again, we can say whatever the heck we want in these physical newsletters. Okay, guys? So if you want to do that, go to tpnewsletter.com. Make sure to go to trendingpolitics.com. If you guys also want some pro-Trump masks, I know a lot of places you can't go into a restaurant, a store, anywhere without a mask. Hey, if they're going to make us wear a mask, you might as well piss them off in the process. So ilovemyfreedom.com. We have a lot of great masks. We've got hats, T-shirts, coins, all kinds of great things. But that's all optional to you guys. But make sure you're refreshing trendingpolitics.com every single day and downloading our app because we're always talking about the news. We're always engaging in discussion. So I appreciate all you guys. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you guys very much. All right. You guys have a great night.